up, YouTube? Welcome to my very first video. Congratulations. If you're seeing this, this is my very first video. Took me a long time to get here, but I am here. I thought that it would only be appropriate to talk about how to choose a good life coach, a good spiritual coach, a good relationship coach, any kind of coach that you can really think of, basically. And it's kind of geared towards a spiritual coach because I feel like there's a lot out there when it comes to spirituality and spiritual leaders and people that are gurus and things of that nature. So couple things. I'm going to start out with telling you guys some things to keep in mind when you're looking for a coach, and then the second part of the video, I am going to have an interview with somebody who she ended up finding herself in a situation where she didn't have good coaches. So first half of the video, I'm going to give you guys some tips, and then the interview will be in the second half of the video. So, number one, choose a coach that resonates with you. This is especially true when it comes to spiritual coaches. Spirituality is an inner journey. You're getting closer to yourself. You're getting to know your true self. The coach should resonate with you. You won't achieve the results that you're looking for if you choose somebody that doesn't resonate with your core beliefs, core values. You know, especially times a million. Especially when it comes to twin flame coaches and soul connection coaches and all that jazz, because there is so much out there about this topic, and find somebody that resonates with you. A lot of them have their stories out there for you to watch or listen to or read. Find somebody that resonates with you. You know, if you want to go down the spiritual wormhole, Google twin flames, you know. You know, a coach, of course, is not there to validate the story that you've always been telling yourself. You know, they're not there to validate your bad belief systems. You know, they're there to help you change. They're there to help you get to know yourself. They're there to challenge you, to help you question yourself and consider other thought processes other than the ones that you've always had. I mean, you go to a coach for a reason, right? But if they don't resonate with your core values, then you may not get what you're looking for when it comes to getting coaching. Second one, find a coach that has actually done the work themselves. Coaches also need coaching so that they can be there for themselves, so that when you come in as a client, they can be there for you. It's kind of the whole thing, do as I say, not as I do, you know. You know, when we go through the same things as somebody else, we're better to understand what the other person is going through, you know, rather than just kind of repeating the things that we heard from somebody else instead of like an echo chamber of sorts. You know, we're actually giving the help based on our own experiences. You know, you don't need a certificate in order to coach. You know, I'm not against certificates or anything like that, but it's not something that somebody can just go to school for and just kind of repeat things that they learned and just teach somebody. There's a deeper level of understanding that the coach should have, and, you know, if your coach isn't practicing what they're preaching, how are you going to react to that as a client of theirs? Do one-on-one sessions. A lot of coaches have webinars, seminars, ebooks, audio tapes, or think of it, name it, they got it. You know, but we're all different, and we all have different pasts. We have all different traumas. We all have different stuff that's going on. And, you know, what is needed for one person may not be needed for another person. And obviously I'm not against these kinds of things or anything like that. But you're going to get more out of your experience if you're doing one-on-one sessions with a coach versus just doing e-classes or webinars or just reading books. The individualized attention is going to get you the best result. Third one, don't fall for the usual marketing techniques. Now this one. If a coach is guaranteeing you results in a specific time period or guaranteeing anything at all whatsoever, it's a marketing technique. Coaching requires the client's participation. So you are not going to get any results with the coach doing all the work. You have to put the work into it, and the client has to put the work into it. The client is only going to get the results that they put in the work for. So if you see somebody out there that says, that guarantees any kind of result, they're just trying to entice you in. Beware of the coaches that want to keep you on as a client. They'll maybe use one type of class and then you go through that and then they'll use the same exact marketing technique in order to get you to purchase another class and so on and so forth before you spend your whole life savings on this person or company. They'll use misleading titles to entice you into watching a video, for example, like, you must say these 3 things to a man in order to keep him. And then the video will be somebody just literally wasting time for 3 minutes. And at the end of the video, it's like, if you want to know these 3 things, click on this link. In order to get the information you seek, you got to watch this 5-minute video. And then at the end, you don't get the information that you're looking for. And you just get told, well, now you got to buy this book in order to get the information that you're seeking. Certain marketing techniques can be very, very tempting. We live in a society that wants that quick fix, that pill. But stop and think about it for a minute before you make a choice on a coach because, they said that they can get your twin filling back in 3 weeks or help you make 6 figures in 6 months or help you reconcile a relationship in just 3 months. Even worse, be aware of coaches that claim that they have done something that seems too good to be true. People do lie or they twist the truth in order to fit their agenda. So, for example, I got my blog 10,000 followers in just 30 days, sign up for my class. Stuff like that. I'm not saying that these things are not possible. Extraordinary things happen all the time. But just be cautious and know what you're getting, know what you're buying, that, this person may not be actually, they might be lying to you, basically. Another tip, a coach is more of a guide than a teacher. Sorry, guys. A coach is more of a guide than a teacher. Again, this is true more for spiritual coaches. There's a lot of self-proclaimed gurus and teachers. Think about this. If a guru is that much of a guru, would they have to call themselves a guru? Wouldn't their guru status be determined by, given to them by those outside of themselves? A coach should guide you rather than teach you. Again, especially when it comes to spiritual matters, it's an inner journey. A coach should make you get closer to yourself and allow you to figure out the answers for yourself. Sorry. Oh boy. Last but not least, almost done. A good coach should want you to receive results. Again, if a coach is trying to keep you on as the client, keeps telling you that you need a different class. This is going really well, guys. If a coach is trying to keep you on their client list, they don't have your best interests at heart. If the marketing promises 6 figures in 6 months, they shouldn't put you through a $3,000 class, and when you don't get results, they tell you that you need to purchase something else in order to make six figures in 6 months. And then at that point, their premise would have already been expired. That 6 months probably would have been done with. They don't want you to make six figures, they want you to help them make six figures. Remember, change first happens within. Don't expect coaching or anything else external to do the work for you. Okay, guys? Sorry for the interruptions. If you want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe. I'll have more coming out. Sit back and relax because the second part of this video is coming up with the interview. Bye, guys. All right. Okay. What's up, guys? I'm back, and I am here with Andrea, as promised. And she is here. She's going to tell you what she's kind of been through, what her experiences are, and give you guys any other tips that she has. So I will let her explain what her experiences were and everything. Go ahead.
All right, so everyone. Hey. By the way, if you have any questions like midway through my short brief, just let me know. Just due to the business that you do as far as coaching, I won't mention the group that I dealt with, but I have some videos on it. But so pretty much I was in a twin flame spiritual group run by two main couple, and originally when I first even got involved with them, it was originally just single one-on-one coaching at first. There was a few videos they had already had on their YouTube channel that kind of caught my attention. And one of the videos later on down the road mentioned something to deal with actually one-on-one coaching. And I had watched it a few times and was kind of weary, but I was like, just me being kind of skeptical and kind of always on the fence about certain things. I reached out to the guy who had made the video and had scheduled a one-on-one consultation. It was like a free 30-minute consultation or something like that. So we met, we chit-chatted. Everything seemed pretty good for the most part. I still had a few had some skepticism still, but everything, and that's just me naturally. So we actually started our one-on-one coaching in October of, I want to say, 2016. Because it was just before the only reason I remember is like around that time because I was just about to take a cruise with a few friends actually. So as we had our first session, I think before the cruise, I did some spiritual workouts on the cruise, things like that. I came back and did my second session with him because you could have it where you could pay per session, or you could do like pay for 4 sessions, and you can use them whenever you feel like you need to use them. So in my second session, he had came on with his wife, and had told me that they were going to do group sessions. One, it would be cheaper, and 2, I'd be able to work with other people who were pretty much on the same journey as I was. Pretty much it's the twin flame journey, if I haven't mentioned that already. So I agreed to that, so that was completely fine. I was a little bit iffy about that because I am very cautious about who I share certain information with. So it's just like to do like a group thing. I was just like, it seems kind of awkward, but we'll kind of see how it goes, and kind of go from there. At the time, these classes weren't recorded. I know they do have a product out now where you can see some of the recorded classes that they've done. But at the time, the classes weren't recorded. Everything seemed pretty kosher for the most part with the coachings at first. Like these people seemed like they genuinely cared, and that they were, for the well-being of the students that they were teaching. Things did start getting a little bit awkward, I will say, kind of right off the bat. And I mean, I guess that should have been a red flag to me immediately. I'm not sure how long into the classes, but at one point the guy who was doing these classes had mentioned that he was like the second coming of Christ, and I was just like, okay. So, um, and this, of course, like some people were kind of like, no. And it really triggered to the point where they left. They were just like, that's ridiculous. I'm out, deuces, whatever. And there are, of course, like, a few people that say it, including me. 'Cause I'm just like, you know what? If this is gets me to me, if this gets me to where I want to need to get to, like, I'll take the BS and keep it moving. Like, whatever. Like maybe you just, having a moment
Mhm.
and keeping it moving, right? So as time progressed, these uh, self-proclaimed gurus at the time, they started doing recorded classes, and because at the time, like we didn't call them our gurus. Like that wasn't happening. We would call them our spiritual teachers or guides and stuff like that. But I wouldn't call nobody my guru. So so later on down the road, they started doing recorded classes because they wanted to be able to spread their work to other people, and it was a way for them not have to And I understand as a business, you don't want to, if you're doing a product, you want to try to get it out to multiple people without having to constantly put in the work, so you kind of look for other ways. So they want to do a product where they could record the classes, to a certain amount of classes, and sell it as like a subscription. Okay, cool, kosher, understandable, whatever. So they started doing classes and stuff like that, and they had, um, if I remember correctly, I think it was 3 classes for twin flames, and then they had one for what they considered life purpose, and it was centered around helping people find their life purpose or what they want to do in life, and helping them build something that was stable based off that. Um, that one for me, well, both of them kind of, I'll talk about the life purpose real quick. So the life purpose real quick, classes, I wasn't a live student, but I had subscribed. Um, to me personally, I felt like it was a waste of money after a few classes, and here's why. A lot of the students who were in the class were centered around coaching, so that's mainly kind of what these people were talking about. Like it was always coaching businesses and stuff like that. There were, I think there was one person who um, didn't do coaching, but now they're currently doing coaching. But it didn't, for me, didn't seem to really have any information that I could really use and apply, that I couldn't find in like a book. That I couldn't find in like a business book by people who had built multiple empires, and had gone through the ins and the outs of um, businesses that were, even if it wasn't the same as mine, were very similar along those lines, that I could really take and use that material. Um,
They seemed like they were contributing to that like echo chamber type of thing.
yeah, like it was nothing but like really coaching, like oh, this is how you can get more clients, this is how you can do this. So it's like, and it pretty much, it just didn't seem useful. Like with the price of the product and the information that I was getting, like it was I'm not trying to be an ass, but it just kind of seemed pointless. Like, because honestly, I mean, I think the subscription was like over $1,000 or some crap like that, divided up throughout the year, whatever, right? So, but it was like I could take half of that money, if not like a quarter of that money, go buy some actual business books that actually have substance and that actually have stuff that you can actually apply to it. And including, if you want to incorporate some spiritual books into that, like a lot of law of attraction and stuff like that, like, and other actually like concrete business books, like you would be good to go with the information that you would be getting from those books compared to what I was getting from these classes personally. Because after a while, it did seem like a echo chamber, like oh, how's your coaching business? Oh, I don't have enough clients. Okay, let's mirror that, or let's look into that. Da, 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 da. It's like stuff that you would normally, I mean, I wouldn't see why you would have to have someone, as far as like these particular teachers. Like I understand if you need a business coach, like get someone who is actually knowledgeable. They can actually help you walk through that stuff, versus just how do you feel about it? So it just kind of seemed redundant after a while, honestly. Um, and then back to uh, the twin flame classes. Um, After a while, the same thing. It just kind of got repetitive. It was, what are you struggling with? Heal that and continue to move on. Okay, cool. And I can understand to a certain extent, like, learning from other people. That's how humans learn. We learn from the stories. We learn from our own experiences. We learn from people's experience, so we hopefully don't make the same mistake. Okay, cool, fine. But after a while, it just got really repetitive, and to have three classes going on or to record three classes and sell it as a bundle, it's like you're pretty much going to be hearing the same thing over and over and over again. Um, and I think the last year, um, gosh, I'm not quite sure, but I think like the last year or whatever, I was already doubting these people and what they stood for, and what they were teaching. Um, I wasn't really active in their Facebook forums, so it wasn't easy for them to be like, oh, okay, this person is starting to distance themselves from us. And I think that's one thing that these people, these so-called gurus, looked for, is a lot of people who were extremely active in the group. It was very easy for them to see who was falling away because they just stopped, posting as much and stuff like that. But so they were able to kind of call them out, in classes or in the forum, like, hey, so and so, we see that you're struggling, you're seeming to have some struggles. And it would I mean, it's from someone who was just kind of looking at it like, oh my gosh, they can feel my, they can tell that I'm falling out of, alignment, as they call it. I'm falling out of, they can tell I'm falling out of alignment with them. But it's like, for me, I was probably what they would consider falling out of alignment a long before before I left. I think 6 months in, or not 6 months in, but about 6 months before the classes finally ended. Like, I was just kind of like I'm mentally like done. I was already questioning who they so-called claim was my twin flame. And like, even I think halfway at some point during the classes, like I just kept my camera off, like, so they couldn't even see me. And like, it was funny because like there'd be times where they'd be talking and I would just be rolling my eyes like behind the camera, like, oh my god. And that happened for 6 months, and I thought it was so strange because these so-called gurus, of this group that I was in, they always said that if someone's out of alignment with us, or if someone is not uh doesn't feel the same way, pretty much they don't feel the same way about the group, like they'll naturally fall out, or they'll naturally fall out the class. And it's just like, that's a lie, because I was in the classes from the beginning to the end, and I was questioning you guys for a hot minute. So I just think they look for clues to try to really um, see who's really falling out, who's not. At the end of the day, like, this group that I was in became very physically abusive. Not physically, I'm sorry. Mentally and like emotionally abusive to the people that were in these groups. I mean, I've got tons of screenshots of people being like, do you really, would you, choose, would you really choose the abuse of your family over your twin flame? It's just like, the abuse is because your family says they have concerns and you're calling that abuse, and it's not abuse. Like, they genuinely have concerns. Or, you got these leaders of this group who are like calling people like out of their names. And I'm not just saying like, hey, you're a punk. I mean, you're calling people like bitches and cunts and all types of like, I don't know any person who would claim that they're spiritual, or that they're a guru, or that they teach enlightenment, who talks to other people like that. And if someone doubts these people, you say they're abusing you and they're quote unquote attacking you. Um, but when you do it to them, you say that, oh, it's a way for me to help you see your blocks. No, bro, you can't have it both ways. Or, they claim attack isn't real, but you make videos about how people are attacking you. Like, I don't like, and it, like, you contradict yourself plenty, like, a lot of times. They've contradicted themselves plenty of times. Like, this group, they have tons of YouTube videos. Google search Twin Flames. I'm pretty sure you'll find them. Uh, but if you look back in our old videos compared to what they say in class, like they contradict themselves a lot. And that's when I really started doubting myself, was when I would watch certain videos that they would make on YouTube and then listen to what they were saying in class. And it was just like, no. Um, and for me, I'm a very like analytical person. I like to break down things, so it's easy for me to spot when things currently, don't make sense. Like an example I'll give would be um, this group or this couple. Um, they always talk about how this is their first time being on this planet, like pretty much being reincarnated on Earth and stuff like that, right? This is their first time ever being on Earth. And they, outside of being on Earth, they've never been separate, and stuff like that. But yet they had a video on their YouTube channel that dealt with like, what if your twin flame dies, or some crap. I forgot exactly what the title was, but they talked about, or someone had a slip up and mentioned like, oh, when we were incarnated during this time. I'm just like, but you just said this is your first time on Earth, so what? You're not making sense. Like, you're not paying attention to what you're saying, and then what you're putting out there, like maybe a month or two later. So but like I said, going back to just the abuse of the group, there was a lot of manipulation, a lot of verbal abuse, emotional abuse,
You said,
trying
I
to.
know in one of your videos you talk about the gaslighting.
Yes.
The gaslight.
um yeah, so I mean, they would, and I mean, that was like a constant thing. Oh, are you really sure that, you know are you sure that we're abusing you? Are you sure you're just not abusing yourself, type situation? It's just like, bruh, no. If someone's in, yeah, I think someone had like lost their phone or had their phone stolen or something. I forgot exactly what it was. Someone in the group, and they were like, well, and instead of it saying like, okay, sometimes stuff happens. Like, you just, sometimes there are certain things that are out of your control. It is what it is, right? Sometimes you can't help that it rained that day, type situation, right? And they're like, like, say you want to go for a walk one day, and I live in Florida, so Florida weather is like, it's bipolar sometimes. One minute it's like 1 minute it'll be sunny for days, and then like literally it'll pour down for like 5 minutes, and then like 5 minutes later you would have never known that it rained, right? It's crazy. So say you're about to go for a walk and it starts pouring down raining, and you're like, okay, well, I can't go for a walk, my walk is ruined, right? And you're just like, oh, this kind of sucks, because I really wanted to go for a walk. And they'd be like, well, where do you feel like you're not treating yourself to where you can go do the things that you want to do? Like, they would do some crap like that, and it's just like, and it would make you like really doubt, like, okay, like, is it something that in within me that is causing like me to have these experiences, like in a negative, like, and you pick it negative because the way they word certain things makes you feel like maybe you should take it negatively. And it's just like, no, it's just like, guess what? If I would have paid attention to the forecast, I would have seen that it was going to rain, like it had a 65% chance of rain or something.
Yeah.
Um, so it's very crazy how they try to, one, manipulate people in the way they think. The whole gaslighting thing is a huge thing in the group. I mean, you really take someone's reality and try to twist it to where it really makes them doubt themselves. Like, there are people who are like, well, is that really how you think it went, or is that just how you perceive it? And it's just like, someone punched me in the face, that's how it went. Like,
And I think that's one of the big problems with, coaches that I mean, either one, they're just in it for the money and they don't really care. And if they're just in it for the money, they're probably not practicing what they're preaching. They probably
mhm,
don't have that deeper level of understanding. And anybody can say, because obviously that personal accountability, I guess you could call it a technique. um I mean, we can never change anything that happens to us, outside of ourselves. We can only change, our own selves, how we react to things and all that. So it's like there's not it's like there's nothing necessarily with its essence false about some of the things that coaches like these, that they preach.
mhm.
But it's, one, they're not practicing what they're preaching. They don't have that greater level of understanding of it. And when you don't have that, you can't coach it to somebody else effectively. I mean, I know
Exactly.
that whole group has their own set of other stuff going on, but
Hmm.
I think that a lot of people, if they try to just read about this stuff, or, and they're just like that echo chamber, they're just reading about it and they're just telling people what they've heard, or, just repeating stuff that they've heard, or telling somebody, without a greater level of understanding, because, spirituality and all of this stuff, it's so complex and everybody's different, and
Yep.
it's like you have to have that greater level of understanding so that the person doesn't get into um so that they don't get into self-blame. You have to be able to recognize when somebody may be getting to that point, and I actually have a video on this too, and I have a blog entry on it, like self-blame versus self-accountability, where they're understanding the concepts, and they're understanding, okay, I have to, soul search, inner healing, all that. I got that good stuff. But now I'm here in the present moment. And when I'm not able to think positively, or when I'm sad and I'm unhappy and I can't get myself out of this funk,
Yeah.
then I start to get down on myself because of it, because I'm feeling at this spiritual journey. And
Hmm.
it happens when people get to a certain point where they're like, okay, I'm feeling at this journey right now. I'm feeling at it. I'm not able to get through this funk that I'm in, and there's just a lack of general acceptance that's going on. And I think that's could be where that line is with coaches, that they either have that understanding, a full understanding of what a spiritual journey is like and the things that you
Hmm.
go through, versus coaches that are just repeating stuff that they've heard from somebody else. They don't practice what they preach. They're just, they just read a book, maybe read a couple books, watch some other people on YouTube, and they just hop on YouTube and just, say what everybody else is saying without
Yeah.
having that understanding of it. Because when you go through it, it's like, I get it. I get it. It's like another layer of an onion, and I talk about it more in another video, but it's like you get to that point and you get frustrated with yourself, and it's like that same story that you tell yourself from before.
Hmm.
You find a way to keep it going,
Yep.
except it's with that spiritual journey now. So now I'm going to tell myself that I'm worthless, useless, and I'm not using the same things that I was in the past and before. I changed it, but now it's this journey that I'm on. Now I'm going to get hard on myself for not being able to be happy or get myself out of a funk. And I don't think that, a lot of other coaches understand that, and especially with the twin flame label,
Yeah.
I wish I could take it and just like put it through a shredder sometime.
Right.
And I got videos that I'll have too, and their stuff is already up on my blog about it. But I don't know what you kind of think, but with this stuff that's starting to happen, and I just noticed a trend, it's becoming more and more mainstream. And obviously everybody finds everybody's present moment is always exactly where they need to be. But there's always this thing where somebody might find bad information, but then
Yeah.
what if they find good information? That information has to get out there. And I know it's just a label, and at the end of the day, that whatever connection that two people have with each other, it's going to be what it's meant to be, regardless of what you call it.
Exactly.
But there is a theme to that label. There is a certain theme to that label, and the label comes with expectations and all this other
Hmm.
BS. And I think in the coaches that you came across, in that case, it was almost like, they're not using the label to keep somebody in. I mean, it is a toxic relationship, but it's not a romantic relationship. But people are starting to abuse this label, because the label gives people a reason to hang on to something that they may not, they shouldn't hang on to. Gives people a reason to put up with toxic behavior, depending on
Hmm.
which YouTube video you ran into. Because if you want to go down a wormhole, like
Right.
Google twin flames, because it's just
Yeah.
there's just, and then there's like, you can have multiple twin.
It's a lot, yeah, and I think, and one thing I wanted to touch on that you had mentioned with the positivity thing, it's like I'm not sure if you've ever heard of something called like toxic positivity, where it's just like you can't, it's like you're like you can't be upset about anything. And I think that's another thing that they also teach as well. It's like as soon as you're upset about something, like you have to heal. Like it's an upset, and you have to heal. Like sometimes you might just have them and you're like, okay, I'm not where I thought I would be. So it's just like, okay, I really feel down about that. And it's like, okay, it's okay to have those emotions and look at that. I'm like, okay, like I'm not in the most positive space where I want to be. Okay, what can I do to not only help bring myself out of that, but to get to where I like get myself on the right path? And I think for them, it's like as soon as you have a negative thought, like you have to heal it. And it's like it doesn't give you really time to process anything, right? And so it's like, um, I'll give you an example because I'm not sure if I think I kind of slightly touched on it in one of my videos, but I never had the most positive relationship with my father. Um, just yeah, he dipped when we were younger. He ended up getting on drugs, stuff like that. So we didn't see him for a very long time. And I saw him. Well, when I finally saw him again, it was actually at my younger brother's funeral. So I had a lot of resentment toward this guy. Like I mean, he tried to build a relationship after that, but it wasn't the strongest, of course. I still was just like, I hate you. Like deep down, like I hate you. I can't stand you right now. And I remember when I was bringing this up in one of our, I didn't go through everything, though, but I remember I brought this up in one of the classes or whatever, in the live class, and they were like, oh, it's like I really have a lot of issues with my father right now. I was like, I feel like he's like triggering the shit out of me. And they were like, oh, and they were like, no, why? And I was like, well, I think he loves me with exceptions. Like, I think because he thinks I might be something that he's trying to love me, that, he's trying to, get into my good graces and stuff like that. And, there was a moment, and, it was almost to the point where I almost like completely cut ties with my father, because I was just like, they're telling me, is this something that you really want in your life? And if so, is it really, if you don't want it, then, why have it in your life, right? And it's like sometimes it's okay to try to heal those relationships, but they're making it seem like, okay, if it's not the relationship that you want, don't bother trying to fix it, just cut it off, right? Like just cut it off and leave it at that. Don't try to work it out, blah blah blah. And thankfully I did talk to my father. I expressed to him exactly how I felt about everything, and we're slowly trying to build that relationship back up. But there are plenty of people, unfortunately, within this group who have cut ties with their family because you know they these these self-proclaimed gurus tell them that oh, your family's abusing you, so why keep them in your life? Or I had a like I literally have screenshots of someone sending me it was a conversation that the female leader, that's what I'm gonna call it, she had wrote to someone. I forget exactly what it was, but she was telling her about how she had this dream about this person, and how their parents, the person's parents was in the dream, and how the way their parents were acting, and this was a sign of how the student's parents was abusing the student, and that they need to really, is it really worth keeping someone in your life that's abusing you and stuff like that? And it's just like, bro, are you serious? Like it was like the dream was so stupid. It was like a freaking haircut or some BS. It was something like, so it was just like, that makes no sense. Like it was just so weird. I mean, there's another, they have some of their students, of course, making videos now, and I think one of the most recent ones was a guy, unfortunately, cut ties with his biological family. I think his father had, I guess, found, or I don't know how he came across it, but apparently had found an article on Reddit about this group in a not so positive light, and sent it to him. And because that, of course, goes against what these people teach, and it's not, oh, I believe everything they say, oh, okay, I'm going to cut ties with you type situation. Unfortunately, this is not the only time this has happened, which is extremely sad. So it really does suck. And another thing that you had mentioned with the whole, teaching what you preach, these people talk about having they want these people to call them they want their students to call them their gurus, which I think that's some bullshit. Um, because you're literally telling people, I want you to call me your guru. Like, no. Uh, and I have screenshots, and they have it on some of their channels as well about being the true uh messenger from God. Jesus, I just cringe every time. But they teach about people having spiritual teachers, but yet they don't have one of their own. There's no one that they can go to, or anyone that they're talking to that keeps them in check. And I mean, and I don't say check like in a bad way, but like keep them on, you know, to counter, hey, what are you telling these people? Give them another point of view, pretty much.
Mhm.
So it's like you're telling people, hey, you need to have a spiritual guru on this journey, or a spiritual teacher on this journey, but yet you don't have one yourself,
Yeah.
which is really crazy. And then on top of that, you don't have anyone that you associate with outside of your students, which is something that's also kind of like a red flag for me anyway, because it's like if all you hear is what your students relay back to you, and then what relay to your students, like you said, it's just nothing but an echo chamber. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, even in their Facebook groups, any teachings outside of their own, they don't want to hear it. And it's which is weird, because it's just like you guys are pretty much taking stuff from other teachers, and you're relabeling and repackaging it and selling it to other people, but you don't want anyone else's work in your Facebook forum, or in anything. I mean, someone, just an example, right? Someone could put what is her name, Teal Swan. I mean, they could do Teal Swan, Amber. It doesn't matter. Any spiritual person out there, they could put like, oh, hey, there's a wonderful video that so and so made, and put it on their channel, and or their on their Facebook, and they'll delete it, for whatever reason they want to give.
Mhm.
There's a famous twin flame couple, same-sex couple on YouTube, and someone was like, oh, this is, I found a, same-sex, twin flame couple that teaches twin flames, blah 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 blah. And then of course, these gurus, and I say that very uh jokingly, they they I think it ended up deleting the video, but they're like, these people aren't like they're not really twin flames. And it's just like, but who are you to determine who's a twin flame and who's not? Because at one point in time, these gurus had in the live classes had confirmed everyone's twin flame in their classes. And I think there was, a max of 12 people, I think, as far as students go, per class. So I think there was
Mhm.
like 24, like 36 students, give or take, and just the live and just in the twin flame classes. And like 90% or over 90% of these people now have different twin flames. So it's like that you re reorganize. So it's like you say you're 100% accurate with your confirmation, but yet all of a sudden everyone has different twin flames, and you give some BS excuse of like, oh, if I would have told you who your real twin flame, like, nah, bruh, like, like, no. And it's just like, if someone tries to call them out on it, because there are people who try to, like, this, I'm feeling some type of way because, you know, I'm chasing this one person for so many years, and all of a sudden you're telling me my twin flame is this person. And I mean, I have screenshots. I mean, you're wishing someone Down syndrome in their next life. Like, what type of spiritual teacher are you to say some crap like that? Like, it makes no sense. So it's like, if you doubt anything they say, or if you even question what they say, which is, I think, it's natural. Like, and I think it's good to look at something with an open mind. Like, well, I kind of agree with some things that kind of don't. And you belittle the people that do this and say, well, you're not a real student, or you really don't believe the work, and da 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 da. And it's just like, no, it's just human nature. It's good to question certain things. Like, it's good to question the things that you just feel like your stomach, or you feel in your heart. It's just like something's not right. Like, because to not listen to that thing, it's going to lead you down a not so great path. I mean, unfortunately, I feel like this group is very cult like, just based on, I think it's, what's the guy's name? Steve Hasten, I think, I forgot his name, but just based off the bite model. Like there are a lot of things that this group specifically check off on a lot of the areas in the bite model. That's just it's very cult like, and it's very sad to see that these people are, you know, being treated certain ways, that they even have their students, their main students, belittling other people in their group to try to force them to think a certain way or to be a certain way. And it's just like when someone doesn't agree with that, they still are fighting back because they still have that independency. You know, they kick them out, they block them, and then they turn around and talk shit about them. Like, so I just think it's very dangerous on a lot of parts, because it's just, you know, it's unhealthy to just really just be so focused and not be willing to look outside anywhere else. Like, you know, you won't look at another person's work because these people tell you that they're not really twin flames and they're just doing it for the money, but yet you make videos just to show off the stuff that you know bought and stuff like that, and it just makes no sense to me, honestly. But you know, whatever.
Well, the label is very, very attractive, both for, you know, people who, and I don't really want to use the word to describe it, because it's, you know, it's kind of it just has a negative connotation to it, but desperation, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it entices, you know, there's people, how can I find my twin flame? How can I want to find my twin flame. How can I do this? I want this. And it's, you know, there's a lot of people that are, you know, they make the twin flame signs videos on YouTube and all this other stuff. And, you know, the thing about it is that the label brings expectation that if
Yes.
you go on this journey towards yourself, that they will come back and you will be in union. And
Mm-hmm.
now there's a lot of stuff kind of negating that. I think
Yep.
because a lot of people were applying the label just to very, very strong soul connections.
Yeah.
You know, that maybe there was a lot of drama, because soulmates, it doesn't have to be all fine and dandy. I know I experienced one that was very, very rough for, it was like from like 2011 to like 2013 or something like that. It was something like, yeah, wasn't that? I think it was that. You know, you don't necessarily have to, it doesn't always have, it's, soulmates is not always sunshine and roses, you know.
Yeah.
Connection is just connection. And that's, and like I'll save a lot of the stuff for those videos because I'm starting to go off into those topics. But like the label is very, very, very enticing for people who are, you know, desperate for somebody else to come into their lives. And the
Mm-hmm.
label is very enticing for people who want to abuse those people and keep them
Mm-hmm.
in toxic situations, or, you know, they know that these people want this so bad that they will be willing to pay them ungodly amounts of money to,
Yep.
you know, have these classes and to do all this stuff. And, you know, I did 6 months of coaching before I did, you know, before I got certified myself. But, you know, so there's nothing wrong with it. But, you know, like I said in the first half of the video, there's a lot of things to look out for. And I know this group, they have other people on YouTube now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like the the community has been saturated with a lot of you know, a lot of misunderstood information,
Yeah.
because
And
I don't know if a lot of people really understand the depth of what it is. I mean, yeah, there's triggering, but the awakening is triggered by the connection itself. It's not necessarily, um, you know, this person said something to me and I got triggered and reacted. I mean, everybody in our lives are going to mirror us in one way or another, you know.
exactly.
And I think that, you know, in just very strong soulmates, we get the label applied and we stay in toxic situations because there's that promise, oh, if we do our work and if we do all this stuff, and then they'll come back and we'll be happy and all this other stuff. And then it's just like, let go of the label. I mean, labels have their purpose. And I think I meant to tell you earlier too. I do have a blog post, and I will have a video on like that positivity thing. It's
Okay.
reasons why you shouldn't think positive because of kind of what you were talking about with, it was the lack of acceptance in the moment where people are like beating themselves up for not being able to be positive and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So people just they come across the label, they get bombarded with all this information, they pick whatever works, and they get on YouTube, or they decide, hey, I want to coach this thing, this could be a good money maker. And it, if somebody has not gone through, like, connected with somebody, maybe separated, and gone and at least started a spiritual journey before finding the label, then I'd say forget about the label. I
Yeah,
mean, that's the first thing that I tell my beginners, like, that's what, forget about the label. Connection is just gonna be connection,
exactly.
no matter if you call it uh, twin flame, karmic, what is it, soulmate,
Like,
or
whatever you want to call it.
Mount Everest. I don't know. Like, a phone does not magically turn into a water bottle because I decided to call this a water bottle. This stays
Exactly.
the same. This is gonna be a phone no matter what I call it, and that's just how that connection is. Just connection is just connection. The connection is gonna be whatever it's meant to be, no matter what you decide to label it. So, um, did you have any tips from your own experience for
Yeah,
that?
so I would say this for goes for I mean it could go for this group, it could go for anything, honestly, like any type of coach or anything like that. If you feel something is off, like investigate that more. Don't be that person that kind of like you had that doubt and you like it's because there's a difference between like being skeptical, you kind of want to be cautious about things, but when you just really have that like something just really doesn't sit right with you, like don't just shut it out and just be like, okay, that's just that I'm not going to listen to it, and yet you continue to still have red flags like keep like popping up left and right, right? If you have something that's red flags, or you have family or friends that are kind of like, hey, like I have some questions, that I just want to kind of make sure that everything's okay. I just kind of, to have some questions regarding, this teacher, this group. It doesn't matter, right? Because it could be, a teacher. You can be like, okay, like, look, I found some articles about this person that don't really have the best, spotlight on this person, so I just want to make sure that, I'm making sure that you're okay, right? Don't ignore those people. If you get, and don't ignore like the doubts that you have. If you have doubts, like I'm the type where I will research my booty off. If you have doubts or concerns, like that's when you might want to start digging, you know. And sometimes, unfortunately, with people who are a little bit bigger in maybe the field that they're in, a lot of the videos that you might search for off the top might be just nothing but positive videos regarding this person. Sometimes you have to, unfortunately, whether it be, Google, Bing, YouTube, whatever, you got to go to, 5 pages deep before you actually find, what you're looking for, because these people try to make sure that, that their content positive, whether it be content that they've made or other people have made that are positive, they try to make sure that there's the person that you see, because heaven forbid you actually go down the rabbit hole and start, really listening to people who maybe didn't have such a good experience, right? And then these people will label those people as haters, or people who, they didn't do the work, whether it be, financial, whether it be spiritual, whether it be, like whatever you want to call it, right? They'll like, this person didn't apply this, or this person didn't apply that, so that's why they failed, and that's why they're talking trash. Or like I said, that goes into the the accountability. There's a difference between being held accountable. Like I will hold myself accountable for certain things that I did not do if I didn't do it. Like if I said I was gonna get up and draw today and I didn't get up and draw, guess what? If it was something that unfortunately, like I, say, I'm trying to think, lights went out, like, something like that. I just wasn't able to draw because I don't have any light. It's different from, having everything I need to draw and then just not drawing. Like, I'll hold myself accountable. Hey, I didn't draw because I just didn't feel like it and I was being, lazy and wanted to watch YouTube all day. Cool. Or there would be a difference between I didn't draw because I didn't have any power. So, and they'll take that whole I didn't have power and they're like, well, you didn't do the work, so that's why you didn't have power. So that's why you're upset at us because it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, if that makes sense, guys. So now you're calling us a hater because you didn't take the initiative. It's just like, no, I did take the initiative. You just, you're just not being straight up and being honest about what you're offering, what you're preaching, whatever the case may be. So red flags, don't ignore it. I think that's a huge thing, because that if you've got a feeling in your gut that's like something's not right, like pay attention to that. Like, don't ignore it. I think, intuition, whatever you want to call it, like it's there for a reason. Um, do your research, don't just look at the positives. Also look at the negatives if you can find any. I mean, regarding anything, right? Businesses, huge and small, I mean, they have their positives and they have their negatives, right? And it can be a simple experience. It could be a customer, you know, oh, I had a bad experience because, I had to wait in line for 15 minutes. Okay, that's different versus, I had a bad experience because the person who was helping me was verbally abusing me. Like there's a difference there. So, and then, is the business really gonna say, oh, um, we were just verbally abusing you because, or verbally abusing you because we felt that's what you needed to get to get our point across. Like, no. So definitely look at the pros and the negatives. Another thing I will say is, if you see, and this is something that I noticed that the group that I was in, that they did, that was our marketing ploy. If you see a lot of the same advertisement throughout different people, like that's something to be, I consider a red flag as well. Like an example would be this group that I was in, they did success videos. So they had their students do success videos, right? And it'd be different if it was on these so-called gurus. It'd be different if it was on just their channel. And I can understand having the same thumbnail and the same title. But when you have people who have their own YouTube channels, mm-hmm. and yet they're using everybody is using the same thumbnail and the same title, that's a red flag.
What is that? There's that phrase, and it's not just union. I don't know if I commented. I don't know if I ever talked to you about it. But there's a specific, like, they use the word harmonious union.
Yeah, harmonious union
instead mm-hmm. of just union. And I mean, I've known about the label for years now. I've never seen anybody else use like those two words to describe it.
And here's the thing, they even admit to the fact that they came up with the word harmonious union, like, because they kept saying, everyone was saying, twin flame union, but they were like, well, when you reach this level, it's more than just union. So we decided to say harmonious union. It's just like, you say it's harmonious union, yet, but you have these people who they don't seem like they're in harmony, boo-boo. Like, they don't seem in harmony with each other. Like, they seem like they are literally either one, you could just tell, like, these people are just not meant to be together. Like, I don't know why they're together, because they're trying to put on this front, but obviously it's not working. Or, you can, like, they're constantly, going through some struggles, like some internal struggles, because they're in a relationship that they don't want to be in. But yeah,
it's just a marketing tactic. Mm-hmm. I have two pet sugar gliders. They're like flying squirrels. Yeah. When we're done recording, I can show you them. But I know that there is a company that's out there that was using a different name for them, because when you, like, let's say you're Googling and you want information, you're gonna Google harmonious union or something like that. Mm-hmm. And because that's like a phrase that they coined, you're gonna get like all of their information. Only their stuff is gonna come up.
Exactly.
Blogs from any of their coaches, any YouTube videos from any of their coaches. That's the stuff that's gonna come up. So I mean, that's another marketing technique that I probably should have mentioned in my other, in the first half of this video, that they will just make up names for something so that
To
when you
entice.
Google that name, only their stuff comes up.
Hmm.
And
I
I
mean,
mean,
because I think it's this. I mean, because here's an example, and it's not the same, but it's very similar, right? I think it's Chevy. I'm not quite sure, but like for so I forgot what some car manufacturer, I forgot, right? But they're red on their cars. They like on their luxury cars. They don't just call it red, right? Because they gotta be bougie. So they call it cherry red. And like it's a it's a different type. It's a little bit off color, I guess, what a normal red would be or whatever. But like I think they even trademarked the color or whatever. So it's like when you get this particular car, like it's not just a red car, it's a cherry red or something off the wall. But it's a marketing thing, right? Because you can say, you can go to your friend and be like, oh, what color is your car? Like, oh, it's red. It's like, oh, well, mine's cherry red. So it's like, oh, it's it's more enticing. It's just like, ooh, like I have a plum purple, not just a regular purple. Like it's the excitement, or like, ooh, it's better than the regular purple, right? Even though it could be like a shade darker or lighter, whatever they want to call it, right? So, and they just give it a different name behind it. So yeah, marketing employee is very definitely something to look out for if you're constantly having to market your work or have people market your work with the same look and stuff like that, especially because they are on YouTube with the same thumbnails and stuff. That's a huge red flag. Like for people who may be looking at stuff like this and they see that and they're like, okay, it's not on the same channel. Like it's not under one channel. Like there's 16 different channels, but yeah, they all have the same thumbnail. That's a little awkward. Like, that's a little awkward because it's like, who are y'all working with or who are you promoting where you are doing this thing as a group, as a community, you guys are putting these videos out there and the same exact thing. And I think that's another thing as well. If you see people, or if you're, looking for a coach or you're looking for someone to help you on whether it be financial stuff like that, and you have people who are doing, say, testimonials, um, and you look, I definitely advise to look at different testimonials, like at least more than 5, because if you have people who are saying the exact same thing the exact same way, that's a red flag.
pay for testimonials too. People
e-
pay for testimonials and
exactly.
all that stuff all the time.
You can
I
go to
mean,
Fiverr
when you look on
and pay for testimonials.
when
You
you
can
look
go
at
on.
somebody's website and it's not like a public testimonial, I'm just, I usually am just like, okay, well,
It's a paid.
it's not like, if people are commenting on YouTube, I don't know if I mean, I think you can take down comments and stuff like that, but you know, testimonials, it's kind of like you got to make sure that it's take them with a grain of salt depending on the
Yes.
platform that they're on, basically. I
And
did.
also descriptions as well, because I think that's also a key indicator. Because with all these testimonials that this group has done, if you look in their descriptions, it's all like almost all the same exact thing. It's linking all of this group's work, like all of their products and stuff like that. And it's so weird because my thing is this group teaches like, oh, you only need the book to get into union, or you only need the classes to get into union. But then as soon as these people join, whether it be the Facebook group or they get the book, or however they want to do this, as soon as they get into this community where they're talking to other people within this community, now you want to pitch the life purpose. Now you want to pitch the all class pass. Now you want to pitch working with a coach one-on-one, and not just a regular coach, but one of our, I can't say it because I don't want to, but one of our higher up coaches. Now you're paying even more money for that. So, you're paying like, for 3 or 4 different things, and you're still not getting into, union or harmonious union as they want to coin it. And then, you show some concerns and you're like, oh, you're just not doing the work. I don't think so. Uh,
It's not and like I said in the first half, there's not something that you can have in a certain period of time.
hmm
It's whatever is meant to happen is going to happen. There's really no way to validate spiritual labels for stuff like that unless somebody has gone through the whole experience and they are back together. I mean, that's really, I think there may be other times where somebody may have a pretty decent idea um, of what's going on. But, other than that, it's just, it's a spiritual label to describe I'm sorry, it's a 3D label to describe a spiritual connection. And there's no
Mm-hmm.
way to validate it with our own two eyes. I mean, there are ways, but in most situations, the people that may find this companies, they probably don't have a way to validate it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
so
And
it's,
I will say with that, like you, even with that, like you can't, like you can. People only show you so much, right, on TV, right, or on YouTube and stuff like that. An example would be, I'm not sure if you follow. So she's an inspirational speaker, but Rachel Hollis. She was huge in the self improvement industry or whatever. She was married to, I forget the guy's name, but they always preached about how their relationship was so perfect and they're doing all this, doing all that, and how they just had like this perfect relationship, and um they were even showing that on their YouTube channels. Oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, and they were even going to be throwing a conference for couples and stuff like that, and yet they just turned around and talked, and informed their audience that they're not getting a divorce. So it's like, even through what you see, a lot of that stuff, let's say got cameras on them all day every day and it's uncut, they're going to show you only what they want to show you, right? Only the good. And unfortunately, with this couple, we only see, I think for a lot of you only see what they want you to see. You only hear what they want you to hear, and any type of outside opinion automatically gets turned down. If they don't attack the person, verbally, then unfortunately they have people in their group who attack them. And I think that's another thing as well. And you had, like I said, you had mentioned some great points in your first part of the video, but like, gurus who talk about you have to buy multiple products, that's like a huge red flag right there. Gurus who guarantee anything, that's a huge thing. If and I mean, people who watch YouTube, y'all see the videos like with the ads and stuff like that. Oh, I'm gonna, my business blew up, and I had this guru who taught me this, and if you, sign up for my seminar and sign up for my class, I'm gonna show you how to make, $6,000 and 30 days, and then you go on.
manifestation coaches. I don't know if it's just me, but I've been getting a lot of ads on my Facebook for these like law of attraction type, type coach.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't understand the subconscious aspects of it, and I get that's what all these people are like saying. You've tried all this stuff. You think all this stuff, and you're still not seeing results. And they don't. They say, oh well, the secret behind the secret is your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, I understand that, but it's I don't know what it is, but the way that these manifestation coaches advertise, I think that's what brought it up. The whole one of the points that I made in the first half, that's what brought it up, because I was seeing these ads over and over again,
Or
and I was just getting kind of like, okay, well, whew. Like
exactly, because here's my thing.
I get it, but it's there's a whole
Yeah, I think, and I think like another thing is too, like, I mean, no person, and like I said, you had mentioned this in your video too, like with the whole guarantee thing, right? Like, um, you know, if someone's promised you something, that's a huge red flag, right? Because like you said, it includes the participation of the actual person. Not only that, like sometimes it's just hard work and luck. Like an example would be like if someone decided to do a Mickey D's franchise, right? You're not, I mean, you can almost, I mean, it depends, because fast food and all, but I mean, if you're trying to put your Mickey D's right across the street from another Mickey D's, like you can most likely assume that you might not have success there, right? Even though they're saying, hey, if you put your Mickey D's across the street, even though Mickey D's wouldn't do that, of course, but if someone was like, hey, if you put your Mickey D's right across the street, I guarantee you success. But it's just like, there's one right there. But it's like, no, I guarantee you, if you put it right here, like you can't always guarantee that, right? It takes work, it takes time, it takes, sometimes it takes going through failures to get to success. And sometimes that success is not always the way you thought it was going to look like, right? Even with, if you want to, go down the road of law of attraction, right? They always say, you may want something, you may want this amount of success, you may want this amount of money, but it may not come to you the way you thought it was going to come to you. It may come from a different source, or, through a back door, and, in short. So you can't always think that's going to come to you in a certain way. So I think for certain people, like, oh, I guarantee you this, you can. And if someone is doing that, if it's something not as simple as, hey, 2 + 2, I guarantee you equals 4, type situation, then I have a problem. Because it's different if you say, hey, if you work for company A and you get paid X amount of dollars, I can promise you on your check, if you work this many hours, you're gonna have X amount of money, and you can factually back that up, because you're getting paid this much, you're working this many hours, you're getting this much before taxes, right? That's like factual. But someone to guarantee something that, sometimes it's not, you can't guarantee someone's success. You can't guarantee that someone's going to, I guess, find their ultimate love or their twin flame, because when you can't claim to be able to know who someone's twin flame is. I think that's an internal thing per person, right? And I think that's where a lot of mix-ups might come, because people like, oh, I can show you who your twin flame is, and it's just like, the person doesn't want to talk to you, they don't want to deal with you, they don't want anything to do with you, and yet you're telling, I don't want to say this group, but certain people might tell you to continue to pursue it, because I know that you're, that you're twin flame. And then, all of a sudden, say this person gets married and they have kids, and you never hear from them again, and 30 years you're down the road, you're speaking to the same coach, and you're like, well, what happened? Because they were my twin flame. It's just like, oh yeah, that's not your real twin flame. This is who your twin flame is. You just had to go through this journey in order to, like, it makes no sense, right? So I think the whole guarantee thing
It's
is
a journey.
definitely,
You get closer to yourself. It's a journey to yourself, not
exactly.
to somebody else and following what somebody else is saying. And you know like you said, like it's not like a guru type of thing where you follow what somebody else is saying. It's a journey that takes you closer to yourself, and it shows you, to be your own guide, and to trust yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. So it's about getting guidance internally versus externally. So it's kind of like the complete opposite of, as far as um, what I've seen based off of watching your videos. It's kind of seeming what they're doing is more like they want people to get that external help
Yes.
versus guiding somebody into themselves and helping them help themselves in a
Exactly. And I think it's
way.
another thing that you pointed out in your video was, um, your teacher or your guide, your guide, whether it be business, love, whatever the case may be, should not want you to continue to be like their client in a way, right? Like, you want to be able to help them enough to where they can grow, and either grow out of your teachings and go to someone else, or they can grow and do their own thing, right? So I am certified. I'm a certified personal trainer. I haven't trained anybody in a long time, but I mean, I don't want to keep training. I would never want to feel like that the people that would be my clients, they can only work with me. Like, at some point in time, I would hope you would outgrow me and move on and do your own thing, whether that be you go to a different trainer and, do, if it's something that you want to be more specific in, like, if you're looking to be, a bodybuilder, I can't help you with that. I'm not the one. So for me to continue to try to keep you on and say, oh, I can help you with that, knowing that I don't have the ability to help you with that, like, that's a danger for not only that person but also for me, because I'm trying to do something that I know I can't do.
Mhm.
um and or, hey, I don't know how to train you as a a bodybuilder, but hey, Arnold Schwarzenegger, everybody knows him. He's got some books out. You might want to, read some books that he's done. There's plenty of books or source, like being able to get that person, you know a some type of resources that they can maybe go invest, you know, at least start on that journey and do their own thing, whether they be, you know, go to another coach or, you know, like I said, you know, have go on their own journey on their own. But to constantly, if you have someone who's like, oh, you know, you should constantly be in the group, or you should constantly always listen to our videos, and you should constantly look at what we're doing and purchase everything that we have, like that's questionable, because at that point I think you're only concerned about my what's in my wallet and not about my actual personal development, my personal growth. And that's a huge red flag. um I mean, that goes outside. I can go into friendships too, right? If you have a friend who's, you know, constantly asking you for $20 here and there, you know, every other day, and then, you know, the one time you need like $10 to put gas in your tank, oh, I ain't got it. I don't know why you're asking me for money. You know, you need to stop asking me for money because I ain't, you know, whatever. But it turns around and asks you for $20, like that's a concern, right? That's not really a real friendship. That's pretty much a leech. You know, I think that's a huge concern when it comes to that. Another thing that you had touched on, I made a note about it too. I think I don't think you mentioned it, but it's something that I wanted, that I was thinking about, because I know some people will, especially in the spiritual world, when it comes to the spiritual coaching and stuff like that, they don't. It's an emotional thing, you know, for the most part, when you talk about spirituality and stuff like that. It's like some people, like some coach, they don't want you to look at stuff logically, and I think that's a huge red flag. Because if all you're trying to do is get someone to act emotionally,
To
um,
be ungrounded.
yeah, like yeah, yeah, like it's that can be a huge red flag, because you know sometimes people make purchases based off emotion, right? If you can see yourself in this harmonious union, if you can see yourself living this perfect life, you're going to purchase the product that they're offering you, that is going to, so from what they say, is going to help you with that, right? But if you look logically, you're like, well, is it really worth it though? Like, is there any other way that I can find these sources without having to empty my bank account, right? And they're like, oh, no, 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 you know, it's kind of like infomercials, right? A lot of the infomercials that used to come on TV would be like at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you know you shouldn't be up, and you know you're tired, and you know you probably, you know, some people are having, you know, going through little emotion and stuff like that, right? And they just start purchasing versus really thinking logically. Do I have anything in my house that does the same thing that this is doing, or anything like that, right? And I think that's a huge thing. If you have people who want you to purchase right away, or jump into something right away without actually taking the time to really see if it's the right fit for you and see if this is something that would really work for you, that's a huge concern. Because that means they just want you to hurry to make a choice. They can get you in, they can, you know, have you think a certain way. If you think any differently, then they're going to, of course, turn that on you and be like, well, you know, now you're not choosing, you know, harmony changing, or you're not choosing God, or you're not choosing to develop yourself. And I think if someone tells you that in order to develop yourself, or in order to spiritually grow, you have to do something this particular way, go, leave. It's not worth it. Because like you said, you know, everyone's spiritual journey is completely different, right? My spiritual journey is different than yours. You know, you're going to go a different path. I might go a different one, you know. So if someone's saying that you have to do this in order to be on a spiritual path or a spiritual journey, then I think that's a huge red flag, and that's the immediate you should go. Just on my opinion, because I don't think anyone should tell you you have to do something in order to get somewhere, because there could be 50 different ways, you know, to, you know, build a chair. You know, some of them may work better than others, but if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. So yeah, that's another thing as well.
I think earlier you talked about like going like 5 pages deep into YouTube or Google or something.
Yeah,
And when somebody has like a fancy, fancy stuff like on YouTube, or or you see a bunch of ads for them, usually the only thing that says about them is they got money. And
exactly. They
what
have
you
money
need
to
to
put
be a
into it.
reflection on them being good, But at the same time, it's just all it is a reflection of this person has more money than somebody else to, to make their stuff fancy. It doesn't mean one person is more legitimate than another. It just means that this person invested more money into their YouTube video or their website,
Mm-hmm.
or they set up a whole event for whatever they do, or they got billboards,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. I mean, yes, obviously the more successful a coach is, the more business they're probably going to have and the more money that they're going to be able to invest in advertisements because of that. But like you said, I think it's important to kind of look deep into this stuff, and not just go with the first thing that shows up, or the first result, to really dive deep and look into everything beforehand. Because they might run into your YouTube channel and they might say, oh my god. And um I think I saw somebody comment and it said something like, whoa, I seen them and I was thinking about it. And, they were like,
Yeah.
thank you for talking about this stuff and, in your videos and stuff. What is, cause I got my memory on my computer is low and I want this video to be able to say, what is,
Um,
what is the name of your channel so that people can find you, and anything else that you want I don't know if you got like Twitter or something like that.
So yeah, so on YouTube, where you can actually find the videos that actually talk about the particular group that I am, I think it's under Dragonheart.
Mhm.
I think you can even look up like the truth about TFU, and I think it should pop up. If you can't do it there, the best way to contact me is just to get my actual email correct before I give out the wrong one. If people want to contact me via email, just so they can't find the videos, because with this particular group, unfortunately, they do take up a lot of the um, first few searches on Google or on YouTube. But it's Scott, SCOTT, Andrea, ANDREA 361 at gmail.com, and I can just send them a link there. But that would be the main contact. I think everything else, as far as website and stuff, even though it's not linked to what we're talking about here, but I think like my website is dragonimagination.com. If anyone wants to contact me through there, if it's an easier way. But those would be my main handles there. And I think on Instagram it is dragonimagination_studios for Instagram, but I don't really post anything regarding TFU or the videos that I talk about, just because I have two different accounts. I try to keep it separate for the most part. But yeah, I just definitely checking deeper into the YouTube channels, or the different pages and stuff like you had mentioned, I think is a huge thing. And I think with um, especially if you're claiming to be a successful business owner, I think it's a marketing thing as well, right? Because if you're claiming to be successful and you're claiming to be making all this money, your production better be on point, right? um to a certain extent, right? You better have at least the lights and the sound quality and stuff better be decent. But for people, I think, who are smaller and they're just trying to get the information out, it can be a little bit more difficult, because like I said, you'll have these people who they can't take feedback, they can't take criticism, right? So anyone that speaks out against them, or anyone that actually has a different opinion than what their live students say, they're labeled as haters, they're labeled as being gaslighters, which I think is freaking ridiculous, but whatever. Or they're being labeled as people who didn't finish the work. And it's just like, I finished the work. I like did so many years in these classes. I finished the work, boo boo. And it just, a lot of the teachings that you teach, it's ridiculous. Like you preach about having spiritual teachers and stuff like that, but yet you only want people to have you as a spiritual teacher. Heaven forbid someone is looking at spiritual people outside of the group you have an issue with. and I'll end it with this one if you have anything that you wanted to ask me. But there was I think it was a post or they did a video. I forgot exactly what it was. Um, but of course, there's tons of other gurus out there on YouTube who teach about twin flames and finding your ultimate lover. And these this group that I
That's
was in,
another that's another word that they use, I think, is ultimate
yeah,
lover. I
yes,
don't know if I've ever really heard anybody else use that phrase
I
before.
think they're the only ones that really use it because when they say twin flame they say that they use it almost in the same sentence. They're like, oh, your twin flame, oh, your ultimate lover, blah 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 blah. So they they literally went through these particular gurus. I can't call them gurus. I don't think they call themselves gurus. These guides, or I'll call them guides or whatever. Um, these people who are trying to help other people. They literally went through and they pretty much tried to give reasons as to why these people weren't legit and why they were legit. I think there was one guy, unfortunately, he had some type of accident in his life where it left him physically scarred. I don't know if it was a chemical thing or if it was actually like a fire or something like that, but he had like burn marks on his body. And, they were like, like it pissed me off when I read it because I was just like, bruh. But they were pretty much saying like, oh, he brought this upon himself, like he brought this into his life, blah 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 type situation, right? There's another couple who they were like, they're not really twin flames, they're just in it for the money, blah 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 blah. Like there was multiple couples like that.
Mhm.
Um, and it's so funny because I actually ended up finding this couple. I don't even think they had mentioned them, but there's actually a couple out there. They're actually a smaller channel. They don't have that many followers, and I think that's one thing that I think definitely a look. Or Jesus Christ, edit that out. But I think this group that I was in, I think they look for smaller channels to try to take work from. Because this particular channel that I found, it was a couple, very cute couple, that seemed very nice and very energetic, and they seemed very loving with each other. But and they had their YouTube channel for a decent amount of time, and the guy in the channel literally looked like the male leader of the group that I was in. Like it feels like the leader was trying to transform himself to look similar to this guy because this guy had tattoos, he had the long hair, he had a beard and stuff like that. A little bit more, definitely better clean shave than the leader from the group that I was in. But it seems like this guy is trying to, from the group that I was in, like he's trying to copy that style and that look, because there was a post that they had made about the group that I was in, the leader trying to get tattoos and stuff now, even though I think originally he never wanted them, but his wife wants them. So it's like, okay, well, I have to get this done because she wants it. And I think that's another red flag. And for any relationship, if you've got someone who's willing to do something and you don't want to do it, and they're saying, well, you have to because I want you to look this way, that's a red flag. Like that is not a healthy relationship. It's time to go. It's not good. But I think they take content from other channels and they try to incorporate it into their own and make it seem like it's something that's unique now, because these other channels they're too small, right? They're too small. They don't have the audience, and to be able to broadcast all their stuff. So they can take other channels that have smaller content, take that content, do their own video about it, and call it their own. And then when these people find these smaller channels, they're like, oh, they ripped it off of us. But it's like, no, because this channel, they might have made content that you're talking about 2 weeks ago. They made that same content like 4 months ago. And it's
Mhm.
just like, no, this is, God provided us this content, and this is what He told us to do. And it's just like, are you sure though? So I think that's another thing that's like a huge red flag. If these smaller channels, I think a lot of their content might be taken, and used, and like I said, repackaged, relabeled, and sold as something else, which really sucks. And I know now they're trying to get their community into card reading. So that's a huge thing now too. And I think that's another thing that you can tell if someone is really, I want to say money hungry or in it for the money versus like trying to actually help someone. As I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here, because they were only concerned about twin flames. This group, when I was originally, they were only concerned about twin flames. And um, when that market, I don't want to say it ran dry, but you can only do so many videos until you start repeating yourself, right? So I think once that market ran dry, they went into the life purpose. And even with that, you can only do so many videos on it until, you know, it becomes repetitive. Um, and so then they tried to go into gaming. I'm pretty sure that was a complete flop because I haven't seen anything from them ever since. And you know, because it's a huge industry, right? They're trying to get into industries that one are very popular. So it's, you know, it's the trend, or maybe other people haven't touched yet, so they're trying to get their hands into it early while they can. Twin flames being one of them. You know, not too many people teach twin flames, so it's a very select market as well. So it's like once you find those maybe top five main people, it's like that's all you mainly see on, you know, whether it be, you know, YouTube's algorithms or YouTube, you know, Google, Bing, whatever search engine you use. It's usually the top five people that you'll see over and over and over again. So it's like once you get higher up, you know, you're good, because the lower channels, you got to go, you know, 5 pages deep to,
Yeah.
you know, find their stuff. Um, I know they were trying to, you know, one thing that they're doing is they have a lot of their students doing card readings now. And I think that's a huge market because one, it's a very select group when it comes to the spirit. It's a huge group when it comes to the spiritual community. But at the same time, it's like if you can get into the top like 5 or 10, you know you're getting views, you know you're going to have a lot more people viewing your stuff, which means potentially a lot more money. And I think they're trying to get into that market because, I mean, you can look up card reading for, you know, love, life, whatever you want to do, whatever you want. And you'll have people who like maybe have made a video like maybe only 2 days ago, and they'll have like over, you know, 50K views. And, you know, so, you know, they're getting their views. And I think for, unfortunately, with this community, they're trying to get their hands into so many pots that it's just, yeah,
It's
and
that
it's just,
pill. They know that, you know, there's this picture where it's like there's like the two windows. It kind of looks like a DMV or something, and like one
mm-hmm,
sign says like, you know, spiritual journey or spiritual path or whatever, and then like the other sign says like twin flame obsession, and it's like all these people in line for
yep,
and
yep,
that one, and then on the other hand, it's like there's like nobody or like one person, and that's
exactly.
it's the quick fix. And obviously I don't have anything against psychics, card readers, none of that stuff. Like I don't. But the thing about it is especially if somebody's new, if they just found the label and they're, you know, they got some questions and stuff like that, you know, bringing stuff like that into it kind of messes it up. It kind of makes it a little bit more messier because
Mm-hmm,
you know, then somebody's like, well, I had this psychic tell me that this was the case, but I think something else is the case, and then I went to go see this card reader, and then the card reader's like agreeing with me, but then like I have the other person that said this, and then this person said that. It's like
mm-hmm,
people, everybody wants that quick fix. We want validation, not even just a quick fix, but that validation. And any marketing techniques that people are going to use is typically going to be, you know, is could be surrounding that whole that market where you know, they're a psychic, or, and a lot of people, and like I said, you know, if I knew how to do cards, I may do a video with cards on them too, you know. But there's a
mm-hmm.
difference between, you know, the people that are literally just kind of using it as a way to entice and keep people around versus
Yeah,
this is what I like to do, and so this is why I'm doing that. And they have, most people that do that kind of thing do, or they should tell people, I don't know if they usually do or not, but that, you know, you are your best guide. You know, the psychic is
mm-hmm,
not, they don't know more than you. you are your best guide. And so it gets people confused sometimes because they want that validation of how they're feeling, so they go see a study,
Exactly.
go they watch a card video reading thing or something. Like, it's that pill, they want that quick, that
Quick.
pill that's going to give them the answers that they want, that's going to give them that validation. And you know um it's it's again, it should be more of a guide than something that you take to heart. If somebody's telling you as a psychic that somebody is or isn't your twin flame, you need to take it with a grain of salt. Nobody should ever, especially if they're coaching you, nobody should ever tell you whether or not somebody is or isn't,
Hmm.
because that's just,
They don't
that's
know.
only um but that's another marketing technique, is that
Hmm.
the tarot, they, I mean, like I said, I don't really have anything against those kinds of things, but I don't like it if it is being used because people know it's going to attract a lot of people,
Exactly.
and because of that attraction, it's going to get more people along for a bumpy ride, to put it
Hmm.
lightly.
And I will say another thing that that just came to me that I would say was a red flag. If you have someone, or whether it be a coach, a, a business or whatever, some businesses this really wouldn't matter for. But if you have someone who is trying to put their hand in too many pots, that might be a red flag as well. For the simple fact that if you have someone who starts off saying, this is what I coach. This is the only thing that I really coach. I do twin flame coaching and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, now you're trying to do life purpose coaching, and now you're trying to do gaming community, and now you're trying to do a music business, and now you're trying to do A, B, and C.
Mhm.
I have questions about that because it's like, me personally, I feel like you're trying to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. For an example would be, for me, I'm an artist. So I love doing comics. I love doing illustrations. I suck at designing logos. Don't ask me to do one. I suck at, doing, let me see. An example would be like if someone asked me to do like a realistic self-portrait. I hate doing it. I suck at it. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not trying to be a jack of all trades. I know what I want to do and what I want to specialize in, and that's where, quote unquote, I stay in my lane.
Yeah, yeah.
um, you
Well,
know,
that's an ethical thing too. That's just regular normal ethics. Is
exactly.
you
So
know.
if you've got a coach who's like, oh, I do twin flame coaching. So for me, I would consider twin flame coaching almost like as relationship coaching almost. And so if you're like, oh, okay, I do relationship coaching, you're like, okay, cool, great, awesome. That's what I'm looking to come to you for, et cetera, cool. And then you're like, and say, you're having a conversation with your coach, and you're like, you know what, I'm really thinking about finding a coach that can help me with my uh, finding my life purpose, finding what I really want to do in life. And I mean, life purpose for me anyway, it doesn't have to be this, huge extravagant, I want to be you know, a billionaire type. Because not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants that. Some people are happy, doing their own thing, having maybe a small business, or some people are happy just finding a career that they really enjoy. Like finding a 9 to 5 that they really enjoy and want to be there. Completely fine. I had nothing against that. And say your relationship coach is like, hey, I actually do some life purpose coaching. I could assist you with that. Okay, at first, because you might have someone who might be skilled in multiple things. Okay, cool, fine. And maybe you're like, I really appreciate you helping me with both my love life coaching, and then also my life purpose coaching. But hey, I'm actually thinking about gonna go see if I can find someone who can specialize and help me with my financial goals, because for whatever reason, I'm trying to get out of debt, and not the greatest with money, so I'm trying to do A, B, C, and D. Oh, hey, I can help you with that too. I'm gonna be a little bit cautious because now I'm just like, bro, you doing too much. So how can you really focus on one craft if you're dividing yourself too thin, right? You want if you're looking for a life purpose coach, find someone who specializes in that. If you're looking for someone who does finances, find someone who specializes in that. And also look at their work. You know, don't be that person to be like, hey, I want to speak with, you say you're a finance coach. I want to let me see your credit cards. Let me see your bills that you got. Let me see your bank account, because you want to see that proof, right? And if you have a coach who like, oh, here are the people that have gone through my coachings and they loved it. Okay, but I also want to see who did go through your work and maybe who didn't like it and why, and speak to them. And because sometimes it could be like, hey, they really didn't vibe with me because their personality is very blunt and I need someone who can kind of sugarcoat it. Because for me, I'm a very blunt person. I'm very like and that a lot of people don't like that. I understand. I can't help it sometimes though. So I know for me, like if I'm a manager at my job, so I know if I coach certain people, I have to consciously be aware that this person doesn't like being blunt, like, hey, this is what you did, don't do it again. They need to be like, hey, so, I listened to this call and, there were some things that weren't okay with it. There were some things that were really good. So we're just going to talk about it. Like some people need that, right? And so you need to be able to know and get that feedback, because I've had people who have been like, hey, Drea, as cool as you are, I don't like the fact that you're extremely blunt sometimes. Okay. I know I need to work on that. I'm okay. I can take that feedback. But if you have someone who you're going to a coach with and you're like, hey, I don't like how you seem to be verbally abusive to your students or to your clients, and they're like, well, you don't know what you're talking about, and you're just seeing, what you want to see. That's a red flag. Like I'm gonna be like, no. So being able to see or talk to people who have something good to say and also something bad to say. And if a person or a coach doesn't want you to speak to those or watch anything from those who have had a bad experience, that should be a red flag as well. Because, not everything's going to work for everybody, so sometimes you need to have that feedback, because sometimes if a coach is, like I said, if they're blunt, you don't like that, that person's not going to be a good fit for you, so you need to maybe go look somewhere else. I don't care if it's life coach, I don't care if it's a job, I don't care if it's financial, whatever. You need someone who's going to fit you properly. And if you can't get the good and the bad feedback, that's a huge red flag as well.
Yeah, I just got another notification about my thing being full. So we gotta finish it up, guys. I will put all the information in the description thing. I do free 30-minute sessions. If anybody wants to know further what my story is, because I don't really have a lot of information about my story out in the public. I am willing to have, if not necessarily another session, but just let everybody, explain what I had gone through and what I still do. And obviously that's free, but that's me telling you guys what my experiences were. So it's not, I don't really consider it a session, but I do a free initial 30-minute session. And then if you guys want to know more about me, I will be willing to, talk more privately over video. It's not a session because I'm talking about me. But I do understand I don't have there's not a lot of stuff out there. And I do want somebody to, like I said, my number one thing was find somebody that resonates with you. And I want everybody to make sure that they find somebody that resonates with them. And sometimes what that means is hearing somebody's story and being able to resonate with it. So I will leave it with that. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Okay, where's the stop button? Stop.